things were happening in the game that I didn't know until I watched afterwards, like POVs and like re-listened to comms, and it was a big portion of, you know, why we didn't get points that we should have had.
I actually was telling the team, like, if I wasn't in America, I don't think we win that tournament, honestly. I think there was so many situations where I just, like, shit on people, and I wouldn't have done that with, especially on Latam when I'm on 300 ping. So, like, I mean, shout out to Falcons. Like, they basically won us the tournament, like, unironically. They sent me over there, and we won, so...
Welcome everybody to episode 16 of the Hot Drop. In this one, I am joined by Teabone from FUT Esports, who had a lot of things to say about their recent roster change and their struggles in this year of PUBG Esports. And for the later part of the episode, I had a chat with Fludd from Falcons, who had a lot of things to say about where they stand in Americas and where America stands in the world of PUBG Esports and what he expects from the upcoming PGS. And then also, we had a bit of a chat about making content in PUBG and why he decided to take that path. This episode is a bit more of an interview one. It's two one-on-ones instead of a three-man waffling session. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you prefer more, and enjoy the episode. First guest for this episode is no one else but the FUT Esports captain Teabone. How you doing, sir?
What's up, guys? I'm doing fine. How you doing, Kowo?
Pretty good. Just got myself a coffee, ready for some PUBG waffling.
Nice.
Yeah, like I just told you we're gonna try and keep this short, but I try to do that every single episode, and I haven't really achieved it a single time. So
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, you guys had honestly a pretty solid PEC, but when top 2 is all that matters, right? It feels really bad to fall short of that. Do you want to sort of just break it down how that went for you guys, or how it went for you personally? What do you think about PEC?
Yeah, sure. I mean, PSC for us was, I don't know. I'll say it's okay PGC point wise, but for me, it's shit still. Like, if I'm honest with you, it's not good.
Okay.
Unless you're getting them top spots, like I want to be top 3, top 4, like max. I don't want to be higher than that. Then it's not good enough, and that shows. That's why one of the reasons, of course, what led to roster change too. I would say overall we did okay, like in a lot of situations, but the last day we absolutely flopped. Like, we should have had way more points last day, at least 30, 40 more points. We had so many like good opportunities and just flopped it pretty much.
You think that was a pressure kind of thing, or why do you think that was?
Things were happening in the game that I didn't know until I watched afterwards, like POVs and like re-listened to comms, and it was a big portion of, you know, why we didn't get points that we should have had.
Okay. You wanna get a little bit more specific on what kind of things happened in the games, or?
Yeah, I can. So this all ties in for your next question as well with the roster change. So I'll just tie everything in and just let people know.
Go for it.
I'm not going to be too harsh, but basically, I'll start with a little bit of backstory. We've always had a problem with Beami's attitude. So that's one thing, right? He's always been negative. Everyone's seen the tweets. Everyone's seen other things like that where he's constantly down. Even if we have good days, he's on a downer. You know, I did play shit. I played this. I did that. So there's always been some like issues there in that sense. And when we come into the last day, the level of gameplay that I saw when he had a specific job was just abysmal. And, you know, things what are meant to be done wasn't being done and stuff like that. And we lost a lot of positions to Hal, especially. And as you know, Hal's finished 1 point, one placement above us. Sorry, not 1 point. So we would have directly been taking points off Hal in multiple of them games, and, you know, probably would have qualified. So yeah, like, I was really, really shocked about that. We was already thinking before maybe we need a roster change, but then like this kind of sealed the deal, I'd say. And yeah, I was shocked. I was really shocked because I think Beami is one of these players which was extremely talented, But it's the most frustrating thing ever when you try to help someone so much and they just ruin all of their potential by negative and just I don't know, changing sense all the time, and just I don't know, you just can't help someone more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's like super interesting to hear that, because most people are super defensive and like they're like, oh yeah, we decided to let that guy go. But every time somebody gets kicked from a team, there is big reasons, right? So
Yeah. I mean, I
I think
really
it's
didn't.
fair. Like,
Yeah, I really didn't want to kick him, honestly.
yeah,
After we finished Peg, I was like, damn, okay, something needs to change, but like I'm trying to
yeah,
think what. And then obviously we had access to POVs like these last tournaments, right? So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go watch. I'm
yeah,
gonna go watch with the comms overlaid because I couldn't sleep, and I watched everyone's POV all 6 games of the last day, and just I don't know. I have no words to explain what I saw when I watched Beami's POV.
yeah.
So it was immediate kick, like no questions asked, immediate kick, and yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Was it a kind of situation where you guys were thinking about a roster change after PGC and then you kind of didn't, and now you sort of wish you had made a move? Because I feel like that happens a lot to teams where they're like, PGC goes shit and you're like, maybe we need to change, but then it's next year, let's try to be better next year. It happened to Entropic last year.
To be honest, I didn't want to roster change after PGC.
Okay.
I didn't want to roster change. I think that we've always been good, consistent, but I do wonder now what actually has happened over the last few tournaments. After I watched that POV, like the POVs, like is that why we're always one placement away?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
that I just had to be done with it right there. I showed the others, and they just had no words to explain it either.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Sometimes happens. I think I've talked a lot about how crazy I think the pressure can be in this, like, sort of, you have to get top 2, right? Otherwise your year is just half of your PUBG year is kind of gone. And it's gonna show in some people, and it's fucking hard. And it's also from the outside. I think the Beami tweets, a lot of people from the outside were thinking that it's just kind of memes at this point. He doesn't actually, like, there's no way he means it at this point, right?
Yeah, it's not a joke. Let me tell you that. Unfortunately, it's a real thing, and I tried to like really work on him like over the last, because I played with him nearly 4 years.
Yeah.
Really try and work on attitude. I've had multiple talks, like Edvard's talked to him, H's talked to him, and it's just gone worse and worse, to be honest.
No, it's hard. There's some things that are just hard to fix, right? And yeah, I feel
the thing is, like, I've always thought, especially like back, we got second place PGC like together.
Yeah.
I've always thought he's an amazing player, but his talent and his potential is in the floor just because of his attitude, mentality. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's to play with him is just incredibly frustrating because you know how good he is, and it's just wasted completely.
Yeah. Tough, but
yeah.
I appreciate the honesty. I feel like we don't get that a lot in the PUBG scene. It's a very sort of diplomatic scene a lot of the time. I feel like most people don't want to say the hard truths, so it's kind of interesting to hear.
Sometimes the truths are hard to hear, and he probably blames me for kicking him from the team, but like in the long run, I'm sure he'll see, maybe it's for the better, and because he is so good, if he can fix that part of himself.
Yeah.
So I hope he does and can move on, but we'll see.
It's a good motivation to sort of have a fresh start. It's a good wake up call, maybe. Kind of not the same thing, but similar for us. Like, I feel like the 16th place for us was really a wake up call, and if we would have gotten another 7th, 8th place, we maybe wouldn't be so focused on fixing most of our issues right now. So sometimes getting smacked in the face is not the worst thing. Now you're just in the process of trialing people still, right? You're taking your time. You have a lot of time to find the perfect fit. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of the options that you're considering right now, or is that something you don't want to make public?
We tried so far, because people can already see. We tried Mogor, we tried Molodogs, we tried Nordskiff. nail up as well. Like everyone's seen all these, so there's no real point of hiding it. You can just look on Twitter nowadays, unless you're like in a hidden account. So honestly, I just want someone what's gonna be like kind of proactive. I don't need them to like know how to call or whatever. I just proactive and do stuff. If I tell them to do something, they actually do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Makes sense.
that's what I'm looking for.
Just
But
a
let me tell
solid
you, it's a
player
pain in the
overall, right?
arse. It is a pain in the ass, man. It's the most frustrating process, and
Yeah.
talking to everyone, and then setting up trials, and then playing, and then you're playing with different people every like week or whatever. It's so annoying. I don't miss it at all.
And
So
it's
bad.
also like, it's so hard to find out if they're actually good, or if the games just went good, right? Or if the games just went shit, but it wasn't really their fault and stuff. Like actually judging a player based off like 12 scrim games or whatever is nothing.
I pretty much don't take scrim results at all.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm looking for is how they speak and if they fit with like that general vibe. That's the only thing you can really do.
Yeah. And then you find a good player, but maybe you don't even know if he's good on LAN, and then there's a whole different story.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a mess. Is there any news on the coaching front? I know you guys were looking for a coach. I think you said like you kind of found someone.
Well, people can see like Miraku has been joining us for quite a while now, and I've given him a lot of responsibilities, and so far he seems to be doing okay in that job. He's got a lot of tools now, so I think we are gonna like official trial with him essentially under FUT. So we'll see how it goes, honestly. But as we get new player, he's gonna be like the one working with the new player the most to make sure they fit in, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of like what Twisted Minds is doing, where they just have like a second coach to just watch example and backseat him, basically. Yeah.
Well, basically, Twisted are so good just because the amount of time they put in. 2 coaches, each coach watches 2 players. I mean, I know most people don't have the funds or the resources like org-wise to make that happen.
Yeah.
But Justy's gonna do something similar, and I think like we're gonna try be more structured this year rather than what we've been doing previously. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Sounds good. Is it like, I mean, I guess it also kind of gives you a structure now that you're looking for a new player, because we're just like kind of hanging in the air a little bit because it's so long until the next tournament. And now in like a week or so, all the PGS teams are going to be gone and they're going to be in China. So it's going to be really rough to get the scrim time in, kind of. But
yeah, sad days.
It gives you something to do, I guess, if you're trialing people and you're figuring out who you wanna pick up.
Have you guys decided who you're gonna pick up?
Yeah, I'm coming back as a player. I've unbenched myself. My plan has finally come to the last step.
Nice.
Nah, no changes on our front.
I agree.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like with all them good teams going to China and then they go to another land straight after, like sucks for us. Yeah. Like it absolutely sucks, because that means that, all them teams you're just not practicing.
Yeah.
And that means EU scrims are going to be way worse.
Yeah.
And it just makes everything so much harder then.
It's gonna be a whole different skill set to practice while the top 5 teams are gone.
Yeah. Luckily, I think EU's pretty weak right now, honestly, compared to previous years. I think it's like, honestly, I only think Twisted and Navi are good.
Yeah.
In whole of EU.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put ourselves up there after, that last performance. So I think Twisted and Navi, if they're not cheating, they're probably not, but we'll see. Are the good teams. I mean, I think FaZe is like meh. I think they're decent.
I think FaZe is not that far from you guys. I think they're just a little bit more like consistent than you guys, but they also have 0 pressure, so it's kind of easier for them.
I mean, being GPT is just for free, man.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, like all the global partner teams more or less guaranteed to go through PGS slots just because they can make it to all 4. So as long as they don't come, bottom 8 or whatever, which I think some of the other teams are like kind of, you know how it goes with them teams.
You have to kind of troll to not make it into a PGS slot, because there's 10 GPTs, right? There's 8 slots. And you have all the resources in the world. You can pick any player you like. You have no pressure the whole year.
Exactly.
It should be really fucking doable for like GPTs to make it, which is honestly a good thing for us as well, because otherwise we would have 3 PGC slots, right? So
it's bad this year. Is it 3 or 4?
It's 3. It's 3, and then hopefully all 3 of our global partners make it, and then it could become 6, and then it's pretty reasonable again. But if only 2 of them make it top 5, you know, like that's a lot harder than last year for sure. But yeah.
But they did get rid of the guaranteed Turkish seed.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
I think that's good. That's pretty competitive, and I think honestly, we're probably still gonna have a Turkish team in the top 5 most of the time. Howell looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, they look okay.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I also feel like last year we had 7, right? But we didn't really need 7. Like Exalt got 16th in the last event and still went to PGC.
I think that's partly why they've done it, reduced it, to be honest.
I don't think they thought about that, but it kind of made sense in a way.
Yeah.
Even us, like we had a good PC spring, and then we had a really average rest of the year, right? We got like 8th, 10th, 6th or something like that in the rest of the year, and that was easily enough to make it. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we finished like how many points? Was we ahead of like 7th, like 700 points or something?
Yeah. But you were actually really good and consistent, so like I think it's okay. But like if you look at Howl and Exalt last year, they both had 2 good tournaments and 2 complete dogshit tournaments towards the end of the year, and then it's kind of weird that you're going to PGC anyways. But yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if we have the WEC qualifier, right? Which is kind of nice. So at least we have 3 tournaments this year.
That's going to be a hard one too. That's
for sure. It's going to be a hard one, but I don't know if there's anything announced about invites and stuff. If there's no invites, then at least it's a fair and square like top 5 or something, right? So that could be nice.
I've heard some meh stuff, let's say that.
I don't know. There's a lot of rumors going around. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will see.
PGC points are what kind of matters, but we'll see.
Sure.
All right. I have 2 fast questions for you, okay?
Go for it.
To close this one out. We're actually keeping this one short. I'm proud of myself. What's the worst thing about being a PUBG player?
Oh, fast question. That's a hard one.
Don't think about it too much. Go with your intuition.
Non-GPT.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing by far.
Fair.
No security is absolutely sucks.
Why do you still do it?
I just love the game.
Stuck with it now. If you could give your 2018 self one piece of advice, what would you say?
Switch to IGL in earlier and actually properly learn it. I'm still in the process, and you know it takes a few years, and I feel like I'm slowly getting there, but like I still need another. If I would have started in 2018, I think it would have been really good.
That's fair enough. All right, cool. That was super interesting. Nice. I can't believe we actually kept it short. I love it. All right. Thanks for coming on, and cheers, see you guys in scrims, and good luck with the roster change and stuff.
Cheers.
The second guest for this episode is no one else but the Aussie content man. I think it's fair to call you that now. Fludd from the Falcons. How you doing, man?
Thank you. Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. I'll always be behind Tig in terms of the content man from Australia, but I'll take second. You know, second's pretty good.
I'm biased.
I'm looking at Tig.
I'm biased. I don't watch the frag movies, you know. I watch the nerdy stuff, so you'll be the content man for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. I promised to keep this a short one, and then we just started yapping for 15 minutes before we started recording. So things are going just according to plan, as always. I wanted to talk a little bit about the last PAS, of course, sort of your journey as a team, and then talk a little bit about what's coming up. I heard that you were actually playing PAS from America, right?
Yes, so I actually was telling the team, like, if I wasn't in America, I don't think we win that tournament, honestly. I think there was so many situations where I just, like, shit on people, and I wouldn't have done that with, especially on Latam when I'm on 300 ping. So, like, I mean, shout out to Falcons. Like, they basically won us the tournament, like, unironically. They sent me over there, and we won, so
Where did you stay?
thanks for that.
So they flew you out? Where did you stay?
Yeah, I stayed in California.
Okay.
Just in Cali. So I didn't have amazing connection, but it was like, honestly, at that point, it was either 220 and 350 or like 70 and 130. Like, I mean, I just didn't care. Like, as long as it wasn't in the twos or threes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
Honestly, I feel so spoiled now. Like, with Latam coming in, like, I cherish my NA games. Like, I'm like, oh, I get 3 of them today. Like, I get 3 NA games.
Yeah.
And then Latam happens, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm on 330 ping. Like, I lose an AR duel that I should never lose in any, like, multiverse. Like, I'm like, oh, God, this is so rough.
But think about that, right? And just all of the games were played on NA servers for 3 years or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's...
I mean,
I think it's really good that it's happening like this now.
Yeah, I think it's good. But I at the same time, like, the ping that Latam players, some of them, most of them, to be fair, are playing on isn't, like, completely game altering in the sense that it's not the worst situation. But all 4 of them have that. And that's, like, the only advantage, right? Like, because for our team, like, it's just me, right? I'm just the odd man out. And then, like, SDK has Luke. I think Luke actually flew to Alo's house to play, so...
Yeah.
Like, us Aussies were literally like, we have to go. Like, we have to fly. Otherwise, we're not going to do well. Like, we're not going to help our team. Yeah,
I mean, it's a really weird and unique situation. And then you're playing on a Latam server from Australia versus a Russian guy. And it's like, how is that supposed to work out well? Like, there's just so many different long distance relationships.
I do feel really bad when I play scrims. Like, when I knock people with DMRs, like, I just know it must look awful. Like, I genuinely feel guilty sometimes. Like, I will see the knock and be like, holy shit, that was bad. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll DM them, I'll be like, yo, you alright? Like, because it was bad knock. Like, it was the laggiest thing I've ever seen. So I definitely, like, feel for the people who have good ping, but they just have to deal with, like, people like me and, like, Luke. Like, and we're both pretty solid DMR players, and getting DMR'd by a person on 300 ping is not fun. I guarantee you.
I mean, none of it is fun. Being the high ping guy is usually not fun, and getting high pinged is also not fun, right? Like, it just sucks for everybody involved.
Yeah, there's no winning party really.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you're getting a lot of support from Falcons. I've also heard Trevor talk about it a lot. That's really, really nice. How's that sort of been? You how long are you with Falcons now?
I think it's been about 3 months, maybe. Yeah, about 3 or 4 months. Yeah, no, it's been really good. Like, honestly, being on an org and we're making, like, a reasonable, like, a pretty solid sal compared to what we've been on, it's definitely takes a lot of pressure off at least my teammates who have bills. They have bills to pay, and, like, PUBG, being a professional, like, your monthly cash inflows they struggle a lot of the time. But obviously, over a whole year, if you're a good team, like, you should make a decent amount of money, like, definitely livable. But it's like having that money in your account ready to pay the bills. I do think, like, my team, like Rello, for example, he has bills to pay, and I think he's feeling a lot more calm and confident because he doesn't have to worry about bills as much as he did. Like, I'm pretty sure he was considering getting a part-time job or something because he needed just money, like, to pay stuff.
Especially when you're
being on Falcons is awesome,
especially when you're waiting like 6 months for tournament money, right?
That's my exact point. Like, you can have a great tournament win where you're making like 15-16 grand, but you're not going to get that for 6 to 9 months. And if you need to pay the rent, you got to pay the rent. Like, they're not going to say, like, hey,
they're not going to say, okay, you
just
you got 8th at PGC, we know you're good for it.
Exactly, we know you're good for it. Like, where is it? It's like, oh, I don't know, dude, it's coming. I'll see it in a few months probably.
Yeah, I thought about that the other day because PGC is not paid out yet, at least not for us. So,
yeah, it has not. I don't believe I have. Wait, maybe I did. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you don't have to be sure anymore. You're on Falcons now.
Yeah. I don't even worry now. Like, On
Good
LG, I
life.
was definitely worrying, bro.
Yeah.
I was stretching money that I didn't know was stretchable. you
Yeah.
know? So now I still have that mindset of keeping expenses low and making sure I'm not spending too much, and now I can just invest and be happy.
Yeah, that's good. You're feeling a little bit more like a global partner now. It's nice.
Not quite. Like the global partner treatment is definitely like it's a bit more than a back scratch, you know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like less stress, and I do feel a lot more driven and dedicated to devote my time to PUBG, because I know that at the end of the day I'm getting paid to do so, and I feel like a lot more professional, I guess, because I know that I'm getting paid a reasonable amount, like definitely a
Yeah.
respectable amount to do my job. So I'm gonna want to do my job like
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been putting in a lot more effort and like trying to do more content and just studying more. Like I think I've been playing, or at least playing to improve more than I ever have in the last like month. So
Yeah.
just having that like support does help in the long run.
It's just a little easier. It's also just like I feel like money is almost obviously it's about money, but it's also about the recognition you get, right? Like if you're making I don't know, if you're getting 800 a month, you have a completely different sort of recognition of your skills than if you're getting 2K a month, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
that really helps if you're just in a different class of income, kind of.
Yeah, and it definitely does like sting a lot, like especially on LG, like when we're winning or coming second in like a lot of these like NA events, and like no shade to Sonics, like they're great players, you know, but they were making probably like 10x what we were doing. I'm like, we're beating you.
Yeah.
Like that sounds insane.
It doesn't sound
and
fair.
obviously it's not their problem at all. Like
No,
absolutely not
no,
their fault. But just like it's just rough. Like we're winning, we're beating you in regionals, which I guess isn't super important. But you shouldn't be on 10x what I'm on. You know, maybe 2 or 3. Like if Tig would be on 10x me, I'd be like, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. You know, but it's just how NA scene is at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's hard. It's hard to deal with that stuff. Talking about Sonics.
Right.
Everybody still asks me all the time about the roster change. You guys feel like you're better with Mime than you were before with Kickstart?
I think we're a different kind of better, if that makes sense. Like we're definitely better with incorporating Mime's ideas and playstyle into our team. But I also think we did have a pretty like good skill cap with Kick. Like we came fourth at PGC and we entered the last day or two. So like we really could have. We do have that like top 3 world potential with Kick, but I definitely see it with Mime as well. I think if things align and we play a good set of PUBG, get a bit of luck, I think we can accomplish more maybe.
Okay, sounds like the team is kind of gelling nicely. And have you changed the roles much? You probably have. I used to think like it's Snakers and Kick doing the heavy fragging kind of. And then it's you the support and Relo being the IGL. But now Mime's not like an ADR farmer like Kick was, right?
No, but he's definitely up front. Like we were actually talking about this as like a trio, I guess you could say, as like we've become so accustomed to letting one person really take the reins and shine, as Kick did on our team, that whoever our fourth really is, like the trio of us have our roles down pat so well that we can kind of just fit anyone in and they'll do really well. And like look at Mime, he's doing amazing.
Yeah.
And like Mime's a great player, but when you like look at, you'd expect Jake to be top fragging that tournament. It's not Mime, right? Like Snakers is crazy mechanically, but Mime's just getting shit done, and that's what we needed really. We had a bit too much of like a baity play style, but now we have Mime and we just get shit done. Maybe too often. Like honestly, that's our weakness at the moment, I think, is we get shit done too often. We need to just chill a little bit more. Let some games come to us, you know?
Yeah. That's hard. I think that balance
No, it is.
That balance between forcing things and not forcing too much is like what everybody struggles at the top level, I feel like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because that's at the top level, like everyone knows the macro, everyone can shoot, and it's just really just like those split-second decisions that differentiates top teams and bottom teams at that point.
Yeah. Speaking about top level, we talked about this before the podcast. I watched a lot of China recently. Obviously, you've played a little bit in APAC for a little bit. You've played a lot of years in APAC. You're now playing Americas. How do you think Americas compares to other regions, sort of macro-wise, skill-wise? What do you think?
Honestly, I think the top end of NA is pretty solid in terms of just like macro and just good team fighting. Like SDK is great, SSG is bloody good too. You have like us, Sonics, Legacy's really good. Like Legacy's playing amazing. There's definitely a good chunk of teams that know their shit. You know, they know their shit. But then the weaker teams are really weak. Like it's very noticeable when you're versing a bottom 8 team.
Yeah.
When I played in APAC, you know you're versing a bottom 8 team, but it wasn't necessarily like we're just gonna roll them. It's more of like they might do something silly. Like we don't know what they're gonna do, versus but they're sharp. Like they're still gonna hit their shots. But I feel like the skill drop off in terms of aim as well as macro in NA is pretty steep.
Yeah.
I think our mid pack's like good aim still, but our bottom pack is definitely slowly getting a lot weaker. I definitely don't think NA is one of the strongest regions. Probably more on the other end of maybe one of the weaker regions in terms of like the overall lobby. I definitely think
when
we
you're
have
looking
a
at
lot of
16
great
teams, right?
Yeah, when you look at the whole lobby, NA is definitely not one of the best lobbies, but I do think the talent that NA has, we have a few really good teams. Like we do have good teams.
When you look at 16 teams, what do you think is the best region out of the major regions?
Honestly, as much as every NA fan probably doesn't want to hear it, probably Europe at the moment. Like when I watch the European games, like I'll VOD review myself, and every now like there'll definitely be a few teams who troll macro, like definitely. But I think the macro is a lot more consistent, and like I can see the thought process of bad macro. Like, but I understand the thought process. Like, it's a completely logical thought process. It's just the wrong one to win that game, for example. But I definitely think, like, the overall, like, I think Europe is so macro focused. Honestly, I don't even watch the mechs that much, but because Europe is so macro focused, like, there's way less micro mistakes, if that makes sense, because everyone's playing a lot more macro oriented instead of just going out for kills and doing stuff randomly.
Yeah. I think Europe is almost too macro focused. I feel like
I agree. I'll watch Europe and I'll be like, damn, you guys are really letting this team do that because you're a bitch. Like that's what I'm just looking at, and it's like, damn, like okay, I guess
you can learn something from regions like China who just do
like
not care.
Every region has their strengths and their weaknesses, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean one's better than the other. It's just some regions are better at doing things than other regions.
Yeah, for sure. It's super interesting. And it's super interesting to see that clash at an international stage because people always want like a tier list coming into PGS or something, but you can't really expect me to judge a team based on regional performance. It does not work.
Yeah, like it's impossible to tier teams. I think the only way to like tier teams is just looking at how they play and just like throwing that into a lobby with really good teams. How does that kind of shape out? That's why Twisted is always going to be ranked amongst the top, because their macro is so solid that they're always going to find it into the late game. And like, sure, they're versing great players, but they're also very damn good players, you know. So I really respect Twisted. I watch heaps of their games.
They're probably the best team in the world overall, I think, just based on consistency.
In terms of just raw consistency. Danoa were getting there, but they've just completely,
they scrambled.
Scrambled, which is, I mean, I don't know what the thought process was, but I'm sure there's good reasoning. But yeah, I definitely think Twist is probably the most consistent team at the moment. Pretty close to 17, but
I was gonna say it puts me in such a weird spot because I'm sitting there watching PCL and I'm explaining to people how I think 17 is the second best team in the world when they're 7th in China or something. But all the other China teams are just they're playing like they're playing PUBG China League or PUBG Champions League, whatever. And 17 just has good macro and they play good PUBG. So like, I don't expect like more than one China team to outperform 17 at PGS, regardless of how they do now in PCL.
Yeah, I think like this purely from a macro standpoint, 17 is definitely the best Chinese team.
Yeah, easily. And then sure, Shen sometimes comes out and frags a whole lobby, but that's not consistently going to get you international.
Yeah, like it's I've spoken about it before. Like you can win team fights, but you're going to reach a point where like the team fight, you like win or lose, you're still going to die later. Like because if you have more than 3 competent players DMRing you at range and you can't shoot back, you're probably just going to die.
Yeah. And people are going to punish you a lot harder on international stages than
yeah.
in
Like
regionals.
losing 1 for free in internationals is, once you come up against a 4-man, your chances of winning are drastically reduced, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. I think it's kind of mental from any sort of region to come into PGS, considering that China has just played like 100 LAN games in that same venue. But
dude, I'm so jealous of that. Like, you don't even know. Like, I got what, like 20 comp games on low ping in the last 6 months. Like, bro, like I would kill someone to play that many LAN games. Like, that's just sounds like the best time ever. Even if I'm not winning, like, it's just such an enjoyable time.
It's giving you also it gives you like NPL, PEL kind of vibes, because they're all just like chilling after every game, you know. They're just
and it builds like that mental as well. So I think I would be surprised if China doesn't win, or at least get really close to winning both PGSs, because I mean, all the cards are in their favor. You know, they
100%.
literally played dozens and dozens of games. It's home country, like
no traveling.
They're comfortable, no traveling. They're comfortable. Everyone knows what's happening. Like, they're all set up. So I would put my money probably on one of the Chinese teams winning. If obviously if my team doesn't win, but you got to be optimistic.
I think it's gonna be another thing where China performs, but the other teams, like the other regions, perform surprisingly well. Like, I still expect you guys to do well. I expect Twisted to do well. You know, we might see, not sure which Korean team, but we probably still see one Korean team that does pretty well.
Dude, I don't even know. I feel like I've been watching Korea, and like the disbanding of Danoa, it's seriously like impacted the whole scene basically. Like, I don't look at Korea and go, wow, that team is flawless. Like, there's not a single team that I watch now in Korea where I'm like, wow, that team knows their fucking shit.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a few really good ones where I'm like, damn, they played that clean. But Danoa had that level where they just knew their shit and they were significantly better than everyone else.
Yeah. It's weird. It's really weird. I didn't get to watch PWS, so I can't really say. But just on paper, it's so strange that they split up instantly after one such a perfect season. It must have been some personal issues and stuff, but
yeah, it's probably, no one ever knows what's happening in a team.
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
No one knows except for the people involved. You know, so it was probably something. But oh well.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, exactly.
And then we're gonna have Cerberus like play like 2 bad days and come back on the last day and get a 5th or something again, like they always do.
Yeah, Cerberus so crazy good, dude. I just like watch Hymas. They literally use him as like a super sub. They'll just be trialing their 5th, and then they'll just be like, all right, let's stop fucking around.
Some points.
Let's put him in.
Yeah.
Put him in, and then he just comes in, drops 21 kills and 5. You're like, all right, you know, cool.
Yeah.
This guy's just Jesus. He's insane.
He's different. He's completely
different.
Yeah. That's one thing. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to say that. Is like, we don't have a losers bracket or last chance stage for this PGS, right?
Yeah.
And we have 3 groups. So it gets even way harder to predict how someone will do, because like you saw what's happened to 17 and Sonics at PGS 1 and 2, right? And you get a good first day, you can bully a team out of their loot spot, or you can intentionally grieve a team out of finals. So you could even see, I don't think it's going to happen to 17 because they're going to be prepared for that scenario, but you could see a really good team just getting completely bullied out of finals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. But at the same time, like, you have 2 events back to back.
Yeah.
You got to reduce the time. Like, you can't waste too much time on losers brackets and, you know, redemption rounds. You just got to send it.
Yeah. Are you guys like, what's the break between the 2 events? You already know all the dates?
I don't know.
Because are you staying there, or are you traveling back?
I'm pretty sure we are. I'm pretty sure we're staying, and well, we're definitely staying. We're definitely staying, but I'm not sure on the exact. I think it's like a week break or something. But it's enough time to feel like a new tournament.
Yeah, Yeah, it's interesting. I think you can criticize it for quite a few things for being such small tournaments, but you get 2 of them, so does it really matter if you play one big tournament or 2 small ones? It doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, and like the prize pool isn't like mind-boggling where
Yeah.
you're gonna feel super shitty if you had a bad tournament. Like it's
Yeah.
just if you have a bad tournament, just you got to learn and then go again and hopefully fix your issues. And if you don't, then you have a bigger problem for the Esports World Cup and PGC. You know, that's the real eyes on the prize tournaments this year.
For sure. Cool. Let's talk about the other aspect of what you're doing at the moment. I want to talk about content a little bit.
Oh, lovely content.
You're a rare soul in the PUBG universe that actually goes and puts out educational content.
Yeah, well,
what's the original motivation? Can you sort of talk me through the process, how you came up with that?
Well, honestly, the original motivation was I was doing coaching for a lot of a few OST teams, and I mean, when I started the idea, I was on LG, so I was basically on peanuts. So I was like, you know what, I can probably monetize this to get maybe a little bit more money. Like, I'm not desperate for a shitload of cash, but like extra $100 a month would 100, 200, 300 would be awesome. So at that point, I was like, you know what, I can help people and I won't charge anything. I'll just give it to them for free. And then if people want to reach out, which people have, then I can do paid stuff. So that was the original intent. Now it's more just like I'm helping so many more people than I thought I was, like, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't realize how many people cared. So when I help people now, it's there's not as much like financial motivation behind it anymore because I'm on Falcons and I don't need to worry about money necessarily. But obviously making more is great for investments, but that's no longer like the main goal. The main goal is just to pump out as much content that kind of builds my brand as being like an educator, because that ultimately, like, I don't really think I'm a flashy player. Like, I just do shit that makes sense. Like, like, oh, this guy's 150 meters away, I'm gonna pull my DMR out and shoot him. Whereas amazing players like Shen, Tig, they'll just spray him and kill him, right? And I don't even take that risk. You know, I'm a pretty boring player. I would not say I'm an interesting player. I do everything by the book, as logically as possible, right? But that's not fun. That's not content, you know? Like, I'm not going for these crazy sprays. I'm just doing everything as simple as possible. I want to make it as easy as I can for myself.
Yeah.
So I definitely am enjoying doing the more like educational stuff and not worrying too much about being cracked, because I am just getting better now because I'm just thinking more. Because I have to think more, because I don't want to teach something that I don't believe in. Like, I'm fine if people say I'm wrong. Like, if Batulans came out and said, hey, the game you analyzed, I don't agree with that, I'd be like, damn, okay, teach me. Like, why? Like, what's wrong? Like, but I feel like there's no one to do that. Like, no one does that. Like, people are clueless. Like, when I look at Twitch chat and read Twitch chat, I'm like, God, there's just so many clueless people. They have no idea that, for example, like Sonics, they were fucked. There's literally no way for them to do better that game. They just get heaps of hate. I'm like, dude, if you guys understood even like a little bit, you'd know that it's not their fault. Like, it's really not their fault, and you shouldn't be bagging on your favorite team because they did something you thought was wrong, which definitely wasn't.
Yeah, it's Twitch chat is. I mean, but you can't even blame them really, because PUBG is fucking complicated and PUBG is hard,
no, exactly.
right?
Like,
and like you said,
so complicated.
There's no one teaching it. Like, now I can tell people, Fludd's pretty good. For the last 2 or 3 years, I've just been like, like, I'll do watch parties and I'll do a little bit of coaching on stream or something, but there's no structured, real way to learn this game. It just didn't exist.
Yeah, and like, especially like the macro side. Like, a lot of people, you know, I've done a few videos on like how to get better micro, which a lot of people love that stuff because that's the public players. You know, they just want to play pubs and be better. And what I'm telling them is good. Like, objectively, it's good. But that macro is so hard to teach because it's from thousands of hours of like understanding and like really thinking about scenarios, not just looking at stuff face value. So when people say, oh, teach me like rotations and fighting lines and macro, I'm like, dude, like, I need time. Like, I need lots of time to build the foundations, because if I just tell you like, oh yeah, 3-1, you know, look, set up for this line, get a pivot point, you're like, what are you talking about? I thought this was just a shooting game. Like, no, there's so much depth behind PUBG, and you'd be surprised how many teams, like, how much shit people are thinking about that you wouldn't even comprehend. Like,
And
Especially
everything
the
you think
really good
about
teams.
is with like a shit ton of map knowledge in the back of your head, right? Because
Yeah.
every decision about macro you make is including how does the map look here? How good is this position? How much do I see from this position? How easy can they run on me from there, you know? So even though the rotation system is already really complicated, you need to know the map really well to even get to that point.
Absolutely. And that's what happens like all the time is you'll see like lower tier teams, they'll do a send to a really good spot, but it's not good for that particular circumstance. But they didn't know that because they just haven't ever experienced it.
Yeah.
Or they haven't like reviewed it in such a detailed way that they know if they pull up here, they're going to be exposed to the east and they need to wait for the east to be out. You know, all these extra like externalities. Like there's just so many factors you need to think about. And yeah, map knowledge is already one that I feel like a lot of even good teams aren't super good at, especially with the new maps. Like I think Vinkendi and Tego coming out really exposed a lot of teams and how much they prepared. Like right, our team prepared like crazy in Tego and Vinkendi, and we were cracked. We got fed. Don't get me wrong, but like we managed to average the good amount of points, like 8 to 12. I think it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then our Wrangle and Miramar wasn't nearly as good. Like, is that because we don't have good map knowledge? No, it's because we're just further ahead at that time than everyone else was, and we got fed. But you know,
it is what it is.
You know, sometimes you get fed. You know, that's how it works.
This is we're playing very small sample-sized finals all the time. Like sometimes you will get fed.
No, exactly. Like if we do a calculated send to a cave and we get fed, like it happens.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, like but I think that's something that a lot of viewers like they don't ever really think. Like when we do sends to certain situations, we're not going there with the idea of like we're getting fed. Like we're going there with this spot opens up that and that, and we need that in case of an east shift, a north shift, or a west shift. You know, like we're not thinking about, oh, we're going here and we're just gonna be fed. Woo! Like that's not on like any team's mind, I'd imagine. Like when you make a send, you understand that the side of the zone you're on is not playable, and you need to get past all the chaos. And this spot gives you pivot points to different different rotates. So it's just such a complicated game, and I love it. You know, it's awesome.
It's awesome. That's why I hate also when people are like, you know, somebody does really badly at an event, and people are like, analyze them, explain why they did so badly, and I'm like, I have no idea what went on in their heads. I have no idea what they were thinking about with this rotation, right? Like they might have just made a small mistake. They might have just gotten unlucky. But there's so much going on in every decision. It's not like we're sending a middle. It's like, oh, we want to go there because maybe we think this team is not here, or I don't fucking know. Yeah, we know Sonics were hot dropping, so they are not in their usual prior spot, so we can take this, but then, well, maybe there's a different foreman there and you die or whatever, you know? Like there's so much that can go
someone
in.
Alt dropped. Yeah, someone alt drop and you didn't study the alt drops perfectly. It's like, oh gosh, there's so many things that can happen, and that's why I think PUBG is such an awesome like game from a purely a strategy point of view. Like, I think it's really hard for viewers to connect with PUBG as a viewing experience because it's so hard to catch all the cool shit, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's 64 people and like everyone's doing cool shit, but it's hard to catch that because there's so much happening, right? That's why I'm trying to teach people about like the strategy like portion of it, because it makes the game way more enjoyable. Right? When you like start to look at it as more of like a strategy game, you're like, whoa, that was actually genius. Like you look at the map stream, you see like, let's just say like SSG go from edge to center, and they're like, wait, whoa, they're in such a good spot. How? It's like, oh, it's a low priority spot. No one would play that C1, so it's going to be clear C2. Has great lines, like, and they're set. Like, and that all comes down from a set play that team has sat in like a twi or in a replay, and they've developed that strategy and 4 particular sets of zones.
And it's really hard, like you said, like it's really hard to understand that stuff without learning it, right? Like even simple stuff like you're saying, oh, classic team fighting, 3-1. Just watching you guys clear out a team while maybe you're anchoring, you're holding the back, you're making sure the team doesn't get third party, the other 3 run at some dude. It's already more enjoyable by just knowing what's happening. But
you're just
we need way more of that.
You like look at the map and go like, why isn't, like most people would be like, why isn't Fludd with his team, right?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, he's holding the space to control their back. Like that makes so much sense. And I think the beauty of that is it changes conversations about statistics, because I think that's a really negative thing a lot of people do is they look at stats and be like, oh my god, like on our team, like, I don't think I've ever looked at Relo's stats. I don't give a shit if he has 2 kills in 18 games. I know he is doing his job to a T.
Yeah.
Right? So when people are holding the back, are they going to get damage and kills? Probably not, right? So that's why kills and damage isn't necessarily like end of the world. And like when you look at a team, you need to understand like what job and like what goal each player is trying to achieve. And of course, there's going to be players like Snakers. His job is literally just to do shit, like kill people. And same with mine. His job is to get shit done and get in people's faces. And obviously, like those players who are positioned at the front are going to have better stats. Does that mean that me and Relo played shit? No, definitely not. We're doing our job, and I do kind of want to redirect some like ideas behind interpreting stats. Like when people look at stats and they see like Relo playing an anchor spot, they should go, okay, I understand that he's not in the position to get the kills, but he's doing a job that is just as valuable as someone who gets 2 kills. Like he's doing the job.
You need a lot of nuance if you want to look at stats. Like for example, in your structure in your team, Mime should probably be one of the guys that dies first the most, right? He's the one trying to make plays. He's the one trying to get shit done. So like you can cut him some slack there, but then if the guy who's anchoring all the time gets knocked way more than the rest of the team, he's fucking up. So there's like different sort of levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean,
it's really hard to look at.
One just I can even just share one just for gags. Like Jake wouldn't be too mad. Like we were looking at stats and Jake died 4th 10 times in the best of 18. We're like, that's a lot of times. You know, like
10 times.
What's going on? 10 times.
Wow.
Like, it's a lot of
okay,
times.
that's crazy.
And we're like, what's going on? Like we obviously don't really care, but it was more of just like, whoa, like 10 times. That's crazy. What were you doing? Like we were interested, you know. So it's just like sometimes you need that little bit of extra information to know, because most people would see that, right, and they go, wow.
He's a beta.
Snaker's team sucks, or he's baiting. But was he? No, not really. So it's like stats can like say something but mean something else. So I definitely do like helping people understand that stats aren't everything. Because I used to be obsessed with stats, like when like 2019, and then something just clicked and I no longer really cared. So now I don't really check that much. I just make sure that I'm doing my job in my games.
I barely check it all because I think it's mostly misleading. You can check sometimes and find something interesting, but you got to be really, really careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to have that as like a full-time job or something. Just try and figure out stats and try to interpret them and sort of build models around that.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, dude, like, I think if I ever retired, I'd be a fantastic analyst, right? Because I just know so much and I can put things together. So, but. Yeah, not now. I'm still playing. Playing, you know.
You still got it.
I still got it, and I think I'm getting better. So, you know, why not continue?
On the way up.
I'm on the way up.
Let's go, dude. That's sick.
Absolutely. Can't wait to play on low ping. I already feel like a demon sometimes on 200 ping. So once I shed that training weight, I guess you could say, I'll be cracked. Hopefully.
Yeah. I had a question in mind, but I forgot about it. It's fine. We'll keep this one short. We said, right?
Yeah.
I have some short questions for you. Intuitive answers, not a lot of thinking. Okay.
All right. Won't even think.
What's the worst thing about being a PUBG player?
Optimization.
Why do you still do it?
Because I love it.
If you could give your 2018 self one piece of advice, what would you say?
Quality over quantity.
Good stuff. I think I'm gonna implement that and ask that to every pro player that I interview and see what they say.
Yeah, like honestly, I see so many players, like, no offense, like kind of wasting their life. Like PUBG is just the part of your life, dude. Like improve your life and PUBG will get better. I promise. Like if you go for a jog, go to the gym, eat healthy, you know, socialize, be happy, you know, like you'll probably do better. Like that's what I'm trying to work on at the moment, is like just improve other aspects of my life, because I'm probably not going to get that much mechanically better. I could get smarter if I study more, but if I'm feeling confident, fresh, like alert, focused, I'm just going to be better no matter what.
Yeah. And you don't want to burn out. You don't want to become
honestly, the amount I play now is probably half what I used to play. Like when I was a kid, like I'd pump in like 10 hours a day, but now I'm doing scrims and maybe like an hour or two of pubs, and then I'll do ammo. Like I'm doing not nearly as much as I used to do, but I'm definitely better, 100% better.
I think quality over quantity is a big one, PUBG, because quality is fucking hard. Quantity is easy.
Yeah.
Making it quality is hard.
Quality is like completely individual. Like, and
Yeah.
what I mean by that is like if you can get something out of any game, and I actually hate when people say, "Oh, scrims suck," like can't learn anything. I'm like, you can guaranteed learn something every single game, or at least learn how to handle a situation, or just like get better. Any game, it's completely onto the player. Like you can go into pubs with the goal of I'm only going to shoot 5 bullet sprays to try and improve my accuracy, and just do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will just like they'll go, oh, I'm just going in there to play, like.
Yeah.
And I definitely am. I'm definitely like no better. Like for the last few years, I've been playing just to maintain my skill. I've identified that instead of improving. So now I'm like, I've realized that, and now I'm trying to improve. And like honestly, pushing content is a part of my plan to improve because it helps me. If I'm thinking about it and talking about it, then it's gonna be retained.
And everybody's thankful for it. I think people are very thankful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm helping
PUBG
heaps of people, and I'm helping myself. So why not? Who cares?
Yeah, it's great.
Having a good time.
Cool.
Awesome.
Let's call it here.
I've got. Yeah, let's do it before I drop too much knowledge and everyone gets better than me.
Yeah, that's the one weird thing about like being a coach or something, and then coaching people online is like, it's like a conflict of interest kind of thing. It's kind of the same for you, but not really. I feel like.
Yeah, look, honestly, a lot of my stuff isn't really.
It's the basics.
It's so basic right now that like it won't really help anyone who is actual threat to me. Like, honestly, not there wouldn't be that much I could teach people who are just as good as me, if not better. Like, you know, I could maybe give them some experience or like some quotes to unlock their brain, but beyond that, I'm really trying to help.
Yeah.
The bottom of the barrel, not necessarily the top.
He just called you the bottom of the barrel, guys. Unlucky.
Well, I mean, like, come on.
No, I know. I get what you're saying. It's the basics.
You gotta
be
honest to yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm laying the foundation. So if you wanna put in the work and get better, it's the guidelines are there. It's completely up to you at that point.
Yeah, it is. All right. Cool. That was fun. Thanks for coming on.
Whoa! What a yap sesh. Oh.
Yeah, shortish yap sesh. Okay, we planned for 20 minutes. We got 40.
Yeah,
about
pretty good.
What I expect.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually can't sit down and talk to someone without going for at least an hour. So
yeah, it's all right.
Well done.
We'll keep it short. Cool. Thank you for coming on. That was nice.
Yeah, thanks for having me out. Always, you know.
See ya. Gonna watch you at PGS very, very soon.
Hopefully we do well. I'm sure we will.
Bye. That was episode 16 of Thought Drop. Thanks for sticking to the end. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, let me know what you thought about the little bit of different format. I felt like 2 short conversations really worked for this one, but you guys can let me know what you thought. And if you enjoy the content, there's always my credit code in the description, or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel for free. And yeah, cool. See you guys very soon.